Before modern toilet paper, people used shocking, painful, and outright dangerous alternatives to clean themselves. For most of human history, going to the bathroom was a high-stakes gamble against disease and excruciating physical discomfort. But how did an ordinary square of white tissue become a shield of global health? This is the history of toilet paper. The story begins thousands of years ago. Long before the first factory rolled out a single sheet of tissue, humans had a universal problem. Every single day, from the poorest farmer to the most powerful emperor, everyone had to wipe. If you were an ancient Greek in a public latrine, you would pick up a piece of pessoi, a smooth, broken shard of ceramic pottery, or a literal stone picked up from the dirt. For centuries, the cradle of Western philosophy cleaned themselves with rocks and broken plates. Meanwhile, over in ancient Rome, the Romans invented a solution, the tersorium, which was a sponge on a stick. The tersorium was a communal natural sea sponge lashed to the tip of a wooden branch. When a Roman citizen was done with their business, they reached for the tersorium, dipped it into a running water or a bucket of heavy salt and vinegar solution, wiped themselves, and then, here is the kicker, placed it right back in the bucket for the next stranger to use. It was a communal tool, a shared bathroom sponge used by hundreds of people day in and day out. While the Romans thought the vinegar kept the sponge clean, they were catastrophically wrong. These public latrines became a silent, invisible breeding ground for intestinal parasites, bacteria, and severe diseases that tore through the population of the empire. But how did humanity transition from scraping themselves with stones and sharing communal sponges to something truly gentle as toilet paper? The true birth of our modern convenience began in ancient China. By the 2nd century BCE, Chinese inventors had invented paper. At first, this miraculous material was strictly guarded. It was reserved exclusively for writing, high-level government records, and beautiful works of art. But by 589 CE, a scholar named Yan Zhitui wrote down a thought that changed the world forever. He noted that he simply could not bring himself to use paper containing the wise quotes of philosophers for toilet purposes. This casual note proves the wealthy elites in China had secretly begun using paper to clean themselves. By the 14th century, while Ming Dynasty rolled around, this small habit of cleaning with papers exploded into a full-scale imperial industry. The Bureau of Imperial Supplies constructed a massive manufacturing operation, mass-producing giant, oversized, ultra-soft sheets of paper designed specifically for the imperial family's bathroom needs. In the capital city alone, they manufactured over 700,000 sheets of toilet paper a year. The Bureau created a special batch of 68,000 sheets that were infused with elegant, expensive perfume, ensuring the royal backside of the emperor himself smelled like fresh blossoms. But this act of cleaning didn't spread immediately across the rest of the globe. It stayed completely trapped in Asia for hundreds of years. Why? Because of an unexpected, deep-seated cultural reason. European travelers who visited China saw this practice and were utterly disgusted by it. Western civilization had developed a rigid, unshakable belief that paper was an expensive, hard, sacred medium meant only for ink. The very idea of throwing paper into a sewer or using it on the body felt completely foreign, wasteful, and unnatural. So, while Eastern emperors wiped with perfumed luxury, the rest of the Western world stumbled into the Dark Ages, continuing to scrape by with whatever raw materials they could get their hands on. In colonial America, dried corn cobs from farms were used. Imagine the sheer physical grit required to survive a winter using nothing but a bucket of hard, abrasive corn cobs kept in an unheated outhouse. The world was evolving with cities growing, but our daily hygiene remained stuck in a brutal, painful cycle. So what would it take to finally break the spell and bring toilet paper to the masses? If you've made it this far, you're the kind that loves history of everyday object. Hit on the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel for new episode every week. I'd appreciate your effort. All right, let's get back to history. What started as a tiny, highly exclusive luxury for Chinese royalty eventually became a desperate necessity for a booming, modernizing Western world. By mid-1800s, people were leaving rural farms behind and moving into industrializing cities. At the exact same time, a massive media explosion occurred. Newspapers, magazines, and the iconic Sears were being printed by the millions and delivered directly to people's doorsteps. Everyday citizens realized these free catalogs and newspapers could be read and then torn up to be used as free toilet paper. It was a perfect system, but only for so long. In 1857, New York entrepreneur Joseph Gayetty looked at this messy, unhygienic habit and saw an incredible opportunity. He realized using newspapers covered in heavy metal inks and rough wood fibers was causing painful skin irritations and medical issues across the city. Gayetty proceeded to manufacture the world's first commercial prepackaged toilet paper called the Gayetty's Medicated Paper for the Water Closet. It wasn't a roll yet. It was a box of loose, individual flat sheets of pure manila hemp paper. To make it irresistible, Gayetty infused every single sheet with soothing aloe vera to heal irritated skin. He marketed it heavily as a life-saving medical breakthrough, running bold newspaper ads that warned the public about the deadly perils of using toxic, ink-stained newsprint on their sensitive anatomy. Gayetty's toilet paper invention was an absolute, catastrophic commercial failure. But why did the public completely reject the first actual toilet paper? It was because of simple economics. Gayetty was selling his boxes for 50 cents each, which was expensive at that time. Nobody wanted to pay hard-earned money for Gayetty's toilet paper when they could wipe with the newspaper for free. But Gayetty's failed invention proved that paper could be adapted for the body. It wasn't long before other inventors realized that to sell toilet paper, you had to change the entire experience. In the late 1880s, brothers Clarence and Edward Scott took Gayetty's concept and transformed it. Instead of loose sheets in an expensive box, they wound unperforated sheets tightly around a cardboard tube, creating the very first recognizable toilet paper rolls. This simple evolution transformed a luxury medical product into a cheap, convenient, rollable household staple that quickly integrated into society, fundamentally resetting the baseline of human cleanliness. But here's something not to miss. The early 20th century toilet paper rolls never felt like the soft, quilted sheets we use today. Not even close. Because early manufacturing techniques were primitive, the paper mills of the early 1900s routinely ground up raw tree bark and wood pulp to make the tissue sheets. Because of this, early toilet paper rolls contained actual physical wood splinters. Imagine the horror of a product meant for your most delicate, sensitive areas containing sharp, hidden fragments of wood. For decades, humans had to accept this painful reality as the price of progress. The turning point arrived in 1935. A pioneering company named the Northern Tissue Company modified their industrial refining process to completely filter out every single trace of stray wood fiber from the pulp line. They launched a massive, aggressive advertising campaign built around a single slogan: Splinter-free. The splinter-free revolution raised the competition across the entire industry, forcing every competitor to upgrade their factories or face immediate bankruptcy. By creating truly soft, sterile, and affordable paper, companies finally eradicated the old world of outhouse infections and physical bodily harm, forever changing humanity's view of personal hygiene. As modern society expanded in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, a completely new psychological problem emerged. Toilet paper had transitioned from a luxury to a baseline necessity. So much so, it became a deep, subconscious symbol of safety and civilization itself. And when that symbol is threatened, human beings do irrational things. In December of 1973, the world witnessed the power of this psychological dependency. Amidst an ongoing energy crisis, a rumor that America was facing a massive shortage of wood pulp began circulating. On live television, iconic late-night host Johnny Carson made a passing joke about a potential toilet paper shortage. The next morning, absolute chaos erupted. Millions of terrified citizens swarmed grocery stores, clearing out shelves within hours. People were fist-fighting over single packages, stocking their storages with decades' worth of toilet paper. The panic itself created the shortage everyone was terrified of, forcing factories to run 24/7 for months just to stabilize the nation. Fast forward nearly 50 years to 2020 during the COVID lockdown, the familiar phenomenon repeated itself. Long before food shortages ever hit, the toilet paper had already vanished from every single store. We all saw the viral videos of crowded supermarket aisles turning into absolute war zones over a simple 12-pack of tissue. Why did this happen? That's because when our world feels chaotic and unsafe, we instinctively reach for the primary object that anchors us to safety and cleanliness. For thousands of years, our ancestors survived through daily pain, using stones, corn cobs, and communal sponges just to survive the basic realities of being human. Today, we can step into a clean, private bathroom, pull a soft white square off a cardboard roll, and never give it a second thought. But the reason we enjoy that peaceful luxury, and the reason we are shielded from the horrific plagues of the ancient world, is because of a centuries-long chain of brave inventors, industrial gambles, and a humble paper roll that quietly built the foundations of modern civilization. But toilet paper only solved one half of the ultimate equation, because before you could ever have a modern bathroom system, humanity had to figure out a way to make the waste vanish instantly from our sight. They had to invent the toilet. Watch now in the history of the toilet.